Welcome back to OFFBounds. This is your favorite retail podcast that brings insights from all over the world. And today I'm taking you to APAC, a region that we absolutely love covering. We had a fantastic time in Singapore for NRF APAC, and I'm happy to share the region's stories with you. We have 4 episodes for that. Today, we'll learn about a business model that is becoming more and more successful across the region. Many brands struggle with finding a destination to the inventory that they didn't sell. Many of them, unfortunately, destroy it. My guest, Delphine Dultzin, decided to build a business around it instead. She's the CEO and co-founder of OnTheList, a certified B Corp operating across 8 markets, from Hong Kong to the Middle East. That turns excess stock into curated flash events. Today, we are talking about how she created and scaled a sustainability-first model globally, and why she thinks the future of retail is about reducing waste without reducing desirability. Here's Paula Macadi, and this is episode 121 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. Delphine, welcome to OFFBounds. So happy to be in Singapore with you.
Very happy to be here as well.
Yeah, so I am so curious about you, your business model, what you're doing here in Asia. Is so interesting to hear the story of OnTheList. I think a lot of people are not familiar with OnTheList. Our audience is very Western.
Yeah.
How would you describe your business?
So OnTheList started 10 years ago. And the business model is to support, so we are a middleman between the brand and the final customer, meaning that we partner with the brand to sell the past season inventory that they have on hands to final customers with important discount through the model of flash sale, friend and family sale, or staff sale, depending on how you want to call it. So it's very short events in terms of timing, a few days between 3 to 7 days, where we invite our database to come to shop, either offline or online, and to find this amazing product with amazing discounts.
Yeah, like those products that we keep aspiring for, and
Exactly.
they're inaccessible. And what markets do you operate?
Alors, so we started in Hong Kong, where there is a HQ, so 10 years ago, and now we operate mainly in Asia and in the Middle East. So in Asia, so Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, Beijing, Australia, Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, and recently in Dubai and Saudi Arabia in the Middle East.
That's very impressive.
And we're going to reopen, because we close this year, Taiwan. So in total, in 10 years, we've been operating in 11 markets.
Yeah, and like, how does it work? Like, because I imagine that you have a database in a country, so it's easier, I think, like to run these events. But like when you're starting a new market, you have to build it from scratch, I guess. How do you know when a market's ready, and how do you connect with people?
You're very true. In fact, starting a new market is always quite tough, because even though we are familiar with the business model and we know how to operate, but each market, they have their own specificities. And in fact, it starts more with the brand. So you need to convince the brand to work with you, to give you, in a way, the inventory to organize this flash sale. And then after, the second step is to invite the customer to come to the events. So
yeah, I guess because there is a brand that you can sell to, like they understand the value. Yeah.
Exactly. And if there is no brand, if we don't have stock, we cannot do anything, because the business model is that we don't buy the inventory. It's on consignment basis. So we really partner with the brand to organize these events, and we follow all the guidelines of the brands in terms of operations, in terms of marketing, what we can do, what we cannot do, to make sure that we really follow their needs and what they want. So starting a new market is always quite tough, because you need to start from scratch, meeting all the brands, and then after to build a database, because at the beginning no one knows about OnTheList. So it takes time. It's a lot of word of mouth, and that's why we always test and learn and start slow, because that's and we need, for me, what's very important as well is to understand the specificities and the local culture. because even though the business model is always the same, then each market is very different. And
culturally.
And we did some mistake for sure. And
like what? Tell us a story.
But some mistakes due that the lack of understanding of the local culture. Hong Kong is so different than Thailand or Korea, that now what I learned is that first understanding the culture and the business culture is much more important than starting right away the business.
Yeah, that makes sense. But do you have physical stores, like one physical store, or do you have pop-ups?
Yeah.
How does it work?
So it depends of the markets. We have 4 physical stores. So you can imagine these stores being in the city center. So we call them showrooms. So one in Hong Kong, one in Singapore, one in Shanghai, and one in Beijing. And in these stores, every week there is a new brand or new brands coming up. So but for us, it's a 24/7 operation because we receive the stock, we need to unpack everything, we need to set up the event and then open to our customers and then repack everything at the end of the event. And we receive between 2,000 to 50,000 pieces. So it's a lot of operational work. And then in the market where we don't have any physical stores, we do pop-ups. So we change location depending on the needs of the brands or the final customers. Plus, in all these markets, we operate online through the same idea, flash sale event every week's different brands.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I think like in luxury, there is this whole storytelling that is sacred, right? Like you can't just sell something for cheap without like having this storytelling of the brand attached to it. How do you do to work with these brands? How do you convince them that this is a good addition for them?
That's what takes time and what's difficult in a way on what we are doing. So it's how we build trust with this brand. And because we do a lot of project management, event preparation, we sit down with all the brands that we work with to understand what they really want through this event. And we follow all the guidelines. So if they don't want to do something, we hear them. And I think that's very important. And that's how they trust us. And after, it's a virtuous circle. Like you will work with one brand, that it's a small world at the end of the day, this retail world. So that will refer you to another one. And because we operate in a very proper manner, we try to make sure that all the events that we are doing, when you bring a lot of traffic in the same space at the same time, it can be very messy. But for us, it has to be clean and neat all the time. And we make sure that we try to respect the brand image as much as possible in this kind of environment. So that's why, in a way, we work with all the top luxury brands because they know that we will operate.
That you can trust to give the same customer experience that they will have in a store. Yeah,
exactly. It's not 100% the same, but we
premium enough.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So interesting. But I love the business model. You said the first time we talked that this already happens in Europe. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And how long have you been that you were in Asia?
10 years. Me, I'm 12 years in Asia and OnTheList 10 years.
10 years. How you came up with this idea? Like how did you find the need for this business model here?
The story is quite fun. Like the idea. So we started the company together with my husband Diego, and so we were already in Hong Kong working for different brands. And I went to a staff sale organized by a brand by themselves, and it was not very well organized, very messy. And I came back home and I said to Diego, look, I had this experience. It was not a nice one. And because we knew that this business model exists in Europe, we said, why not trying to launch that in Hong Kong? And so at the beginning, it was really a side project. We were like, okay, let's try, test and learn, see if it will work or not. As mentioned, so the difficulty is to find the brand to work with
without the experience.
Without the experience. So at the beginning, it's completely fake it until you make it. So I did remember like a lot the first months where we were meeting the brand and telling them, okay, we know how to operate and we have a database, but in fact, we didn't know how to operate because we never done it and we didn't have any database. But we were very perseverant. We were trying to meet as many people as possible. And it's true that Hong Kong is a fabulous market for that because people are very open to meet you. Like even if it's 20 minutes, it's really a networking city.
Yeah, so cosmopolitan. Yes. I think people are more willing to. Everybody's there for a business purpose.
Like business, like it's a very business city, and it's very different from France. I think I come from France because I think in Paris, if you ask someone that don't know you for coffee, they will not necessarily take the time to meet you.
True. Sorry, like why would it?
While in Hong Kong, like business people are very open-minded. So we met a lot of people, but at the beginning, no one really trusted us. But we had our first yes after 4 months.
Can you say the brand?
Yeah, it was the brand Bash. So it's a French brand, and it was very nice to have this brand that was like contemporary, so not like super luxury, but not lifestyle. And we could invite all the French community. So we were supported by the French Chamber and all the French network. And when we did this first event in Jan 2016, we had the first 1,000 customers that came and discovered the concept and etc. So it was a nice brand to start. And then after, we had like one brand every month.
Because then like you already have a case study that you can sell to. It makes it easier. Yeah.
Exactly. But still pushing a lot to try to convince other brands. I did remember the third event was completely, no one came. It was, we opened like at 8 a.m. for a customer to come before they go to work. But we opened and there was no one. I was like, oh my God, that's not going to work and we're going to stop that. We're not going to continue. But event after event, we saw that it was more successful, more brands, more customers. And so we did quit our job after 6 months to be full-time on the project to make sure to develop the company.
That takes a lot of courage and a lot of determination. That's what you're saying. Like you got a lot of no's. Sometimes you failed. Sometimes you didn't know what to do. But now I guess the business model is already figured out. You already have big databases across the region. What was the second market that you opened, and how was this first time?
So the second market, in fact, was Singapore.
Okay.
And we did big mistake. I think we went too fast into outside of Hong Kong, and we kind of saw that Singapore was the same as Hong Kong, but in fact, even though it's similar in terms of population, but the
expat community,
expat and everything, but the city is not the same. In Hong Kong, everything is quite different. So it did take some time for Singapore market to be what is it now. But we, as we know, we learn a lot with mistakes. So now we realize that we did all these mistakes that were helping us to learn. And in fact, it was great to learn in Singapore in a way, because the big market that we opened after was mainland China. And I would have preferred to do mistakes in Singapore than in mainland China, because it's a much more complicated ecosystem.
Yeah, tell me more about China, because I think China was such an angle for luxury brands for so long. Now I guess it's a bit different, but the Chinese consumer was leading the whole market for a while, right? How was China for you?
Yeah, so China, so we started in just before COVID, so in 2019, first event. We took a very bold decision to take a showroom after the first event. We visited a space and we were like, oh my God, that's amazing. And we still have this space that is in a city center, very well located. It's a 3 floors, a very huge space. But it was a bit bold at that time, but very happy to have made this move. And at the beginning was difficult because 2020 the borders closed, we couldn't travel anymore, and hopefully we had the showroom and we hired the managing director from mainland China, so we had at least one person that could manage the business and the showroom, but the business did pick very quickly, because we had a lot of trust from the brand and the customer were quite amazed with this business model. So now that's why we opened a second showroom in Beijing, and we have these 2 showrooms in mainland China. And the particularity of mainland China is that the stock that is inside the country is very difficult to take the stock outside of China. So that's why there is a lot of stock sitting in mainland China that we can...
so all the unsold items, it's not like that they can ship to other countries. They
You
actually
can,
have
but
to
it's
sell
quite
there.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
There are a lot of paperwork and everything. So usually the brand, they try to find solution inside the country to try to sell the stock, either by outlets or by this kind of events.
That's very impressive, especially because I think like the value for the brands is so clear, right? Like they already have the inventory that was not sold. But I think as AI keeps advancing, I think we are getting to the point that eventually the forecasting of these tools are going to be so good that there won't be as much inventory. How do you plan to act in this case?
I had this discussion at lunch today. Completely agree, and I do believe that's good that there is less stock, because anyway, what we cannot sell goes into the landfill. So meaning that for the planet and for everyone, it will be better to have less stock. For our business, I think we're talking about mainly about our two main categories are fashion and beauty. So I think for beauty, indeed, all the forecasts will be better, so it will have less stock. But we have so much stock from the beauty brand that anyway we'll still continue to work with them. And for fashion, even though the forecast will be better, you cannot predict 100% what will be the trend, what customer will like, and so among all the leftovers of the full price store, there will be some stock anyway. So our main KPI is the sell through. So how much product we sell out of how much we received, and we receive a lot. So and our sales through are not reaching 100%. So even though we have less stock, I'm confident that our business model will still exist in the coming years, because that you cannot 100% predict everything, even though with AI or with all these,
and I think
tools.
like you have like also the database of the customers. You already know how they like, how they shop, and etc., which has tremendous value. That even if products are unsold, sometimes products are made for your consumers too, because the way they consume, I guess.
Definitely. And us with AI now, we are doing a big digital transformation project, because everyone that comes to shop at OnTheList, we know who it is, who know the customers, and because they have to register in advance the name on the list. And so we know exactly who is coming, what they are buying, because we scan the QR code at the entrance, at cashier, same for online. And so we have a large amount of data. And before it was like, okay, how do we use this data? It's because we have a lot and we're not like experts into that. But now we have this big project to know better the customers and to target them in a very more precise way, to invite them to the event that they like, that they want, and not to all the events, for instance. We work with more watch and jewelry brand, so very high-end brands, where it has to be super discreet, that we need to target the right customer. And in a perfect world, we would like to invite 100 customers will buy, and we'll have sell everything, and that will be like the perfect way to organize these events.
Amazing, yeah. And it's events, right? Like it's all experiences, which is why people leave their house nowadays for, right?
Yes,
like they don't need, like I think we are NRF APAC, and I think like a lot of people are saying like how the human factor, the staying presence, is actually the new luxury.
Yeah.
So I guess the events and being together and being there with a brand makes all the difference too.
Yeah, and usually you come with your friend, and it's like a kind of I found that, you found that, and it's kind of entertainment as well. Like it's there's a great atmosphere when you come to the events.
Yeah, and well, you came from France to APAC. Why do you like the region?
I love it.
I know. What made you stay?
No, so I live in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong is kind of like amazing city. So personal life is quite intense, but you have this nature and this countryside that you can enjoy. So kind of great to have this balance between the dynamism of the city that is here, all this business community, but at the same time the mountains and the nature. And then business-wise, for entrepreneur, like everything is so easy. First, in terms of admin, when you start your company, like it's just super simple.
So different than Europe.
So different than Europe. And I imagine like a non-French person trying to open a company in France. I don't know. And the Hong Kong is like, they are so they welcome you 100%. You can test and learn so many things because the price to do mistake is not that huge. Everything is just amazing for entrepreneur. Like I would recommend Hong Kong to start a business.
That's a very good advice. Yeah. And what do you think people get wrong about the region if they haven't explored here business wise? Like, what would you like to tell them about the region in total?
So I think, and I had this idea when I was still in Europe, is that you see APAC as just one block, which in fact is so many different countries and they are so different. Just what I said, between Hong Kong and Singapore, you could think it's the same, but it's very different. Mainland China is another part. And then you have Thailand, Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan, that are again very different from the rest.
Just so many people with so many different cultures, right?
Exactly, and very, very wide range of culture, and so the gap is very huge. So I think people tend to think that it's Asia and they are all a bit similar, but in fact they all have their own language, their own money, currency, etc. And so again, it goes back to this cultural aspect that is very important to understand, because you cannot launch a business like that in all the markets thinking they are the same.
Yeah, so now after you opening so many markets, you kind of like already know to take the time to understand the culture and reflect on how they shop.
Yeah, exactly. And let's say, for instance, there are some markets where we are not in Asia, still not, and because we want to take the time to make sure we understand well before launching and before doing too much mistakes.
Yeah. If you could go back in time to when you started the business and say like, this is something you should know, how would it be?
For sure, you learn a lot through, like in 10 years, I learned a lot. I think I would still like not to know too much, in a way that at the beginning, because you don't know, you take some decision based on instinct, which I wouldn't take now. And I think it was great to have taken this decision. You see what I mean? So I believe starting without knowing too much was a great thing to have.
Yeah, I actually think many of the entrepreneurs I've interviewed, like I interview a lot of corporate, but also like some founders. And I think a lot of the founders that I interviewed, they haven't been in fashion, but they created a fashion brand because they didn't have any idea of the industry. They created something like something new.
Exactly.
Because they didn't know how it was done before.
Yeah, exactly. And same, I didn't have any, because I started I was quite young. And so I didn't work a lot before. So everything was quite green. I was learning by doing. And I know now that if I have to take some decision, I need to do this kind of budget, business plan, etc., which is like good for sure. But it adds some complexity in the decision making that 10 years ago I didn't have, like just let's go and let's try. So that's why it's different period for sure. The size of the company is not the same. There are different stage of company when you're from 0 to now we are 200 people. So it's a very different organization with different structure. But yeah, the beginnings are always something quite exciting. And that's why when we open a new market, I like opening new markets. It's a bit my what I like to do the most.
Is that like the new challenge again?
Challenge and the small team, and you're very 360, and you're discovering many things. I'm very curious, so I like to discover, to learn, and to test new things like easily. So it's where that's quite
and how
fun.
many people you have in the company now?
200
people.
plus way.
Yeah. That's a large growth for all these years. Where do you see the company in the next 5 to 10 years?
Interesting. So we celebrated the 10 years anniversary in Phuket last January with everyone. So we were like almost 200 people. So it was quite a quite a thing to
and
see.
from all the markets.
Yes,
right?
for all the market, and it was the first time they see each other, like physically speaking. So it was a very amazing moment for us. And we did share the plan for the coming 5 years. I think 5 is already a good good way to forecast. And the idea is really to structure the market that we have. We have different stage of maturity of the market, with Hong Kong being the most mature because we started first. But like there are markets like Australia or Korea where there is a big potential. But for instance, we are looking to open a showroom in Seoul because we don't have a physical store yet. We're still doing some pop-ups. So the idea is to strengthen the existing markets and to look at new markets in Asia and in the Middle East, where we believe we can support the brand to manage this past season inventory and to organize nicely these events.
Amazing. I'm so inspired, really. Like, it makes me want to move to the region. I'm going to move to Hong Kong and open a business.
Welcome. I welcome you to Hong Kong.
Seriously. Well, thank you so much for sharing this story. I would love to go one day to one of these showrooms and see it with my own eyes. But it's so incredible what you've built. Congratulations on the courage.
Thank you.
And like, I can see how your eyes are shining talking about your business, and like it is
it's really my first baby, so
yeah, I know. What would be your last advice, let's say, to someone that wants to be an entrepreneur here in Asia?
I'm always in this idea of testing and learning, because I do see people that wait for the perfect product or perfect service before launching it, and afraid of sharing their ideas because they're afraid of being copied, which at the end of the day, more people, I'm a true believer that more people you talk to, more feedback you get, and more ideas you could have, and just use the strength of your network, which
you didn't get any competitors coming your way?
We did for sure, especially in mainland China, where it's a big competitive market. Yeah. But at the end of the day, and maybe the mistake that we've done is that to look too much at the competition, to be too focused into what they were doing, while I think when there is competition, you should be focused on yourself and being better on what you are doing, because if you're better, then you will be stronger and you will still be the leader in your market. So talk to as many people as possible, be challenged. I remember at the very beginning, we were very challenged by a group of people like entrepreneur and corporate, where we pitched our idea and they were telling us you will never succeed, Hong Kong the rent are too expensive, or when the e-commerce will not work, etc. But it's great because then you think and you so exchange, test and learn, which are the key to start a business.
Yeah, and like perseverance as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
for sure.
Okay, like you heard the no's, but you're still there. Like, I'm sure we can make it work.
Exactly.
Delphine, thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I will be watching your success.
Thank you very much. It was a great conversation.